Boom. What up, sons? What's up, sons? I still haven't figured out how I'm gonna intro these videos as I'm talking to you because it's just literally just conversations that I would have with you if I was with you, and things that I'm gonna want you to see in the future. Um, I try to do these videos like straight raw and unedited because um, I feel like if I I wanted the things that I'm saying to you to be genuine. I want them to like come directly like from the heart with things that I would want to tell you and say to you in real life. So I don't want it to be edited to like sound perfect and everything, man. I want it to the realism. I want it to be real. So uh, real quick from here on out, I gotta like let you know. Um, these are my accounts and my experiences as being a black man here, like the things that I go through being a black man. um, and I want to be clear that none of this would be to like slander any of your family members, your mother, any of that, like, ever. I want you to make sure that you're still loving and you're respecting your family and all of that. And I'm not saying that I'm always like talk about your family, but part of being my experiences and things that I needed to prepare for is some of them are in the stories. So again, it's not my intent to talk, and I just want to make that disclaimer now because there's going to be a lot of videos. There's going to be a lot of times when I'm talking to you. So I want you to know in this second video, I'm never trying to talk bad about anybody that you love or your family members or any of that, okay? Make sure you love them and respect them with what they deserve, okay? Um, with that being said, the reason why I have started off trying to give you uh, a lot of history about our culture. Hold on, let me shut this door. So, why I started off trying to give you a lot of history about our culture in general is so you can I believe that there is, if you have to like look at it like an analogy, like a tree, there's a root, and then you have the actual tree, and then you have the branches, right? There are three different things, okay? The root is the beginning, so that's what everything comes from. So I believe in order to understand, so I'm using an analogy, in order to understand the trees and the branches, you got to understand the root first. So in these videos, when I'm giving you this information about like the history of black people in general, this is the thing that's going to help you to understand um, why our relationships move the way they move. So like how we relate to other people, how I relate to you or how I relate to that person, and also how we relate to ourselves, like how we see ourselves and how we see everybody. I'll have to start from the root to give you the history, right? To understand the programming of how we are what we are, why we experience what we experience, what you're going to go through, things you're going to see, etc. Right? So that's the purpose of all of these things. Okay. Um, the thing that I want to kind of talk to you about today is our government. Okay. And a little bit about me. When I went to school, when I went to college, I went to college and I double majored in political science and I double majored in secondary education. So I wanted to be like a government teacher. So I would study the government all the time. And I found out that the government is like they're the cornerstone of society, like they're the fundamental part of society because they govern, they tell us what we got to do, right? But the government is ran by people, and people are flawed. Thus our government is flawed. It's a flawed system. um I was telling you about slavery, like how things started out with us, right? So when America was built, like when it was originally built, um, right before, like 100 years before it was built, maybe 150 years before it was built, like the very first slave ship came here, right? It was in 1619. A lot of people don't know about that, right? So when this slave ship came here, the like the white people had came from Great Britain, so they had these British colonies. It was 13 of them, okay, and Virginia had like 50% of the slaves. So like the boats was coming to Virginia, and they're making hella profits. Like they're making all this money. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, like they're like huge in Virginia because they have poor white people working for them, and they had slaves working for them at the same time, right? So they're making profits, like a million profit, hella profits, right? But they gave the poor white people like a whole bunch of money, or not a whole bunch of money, they little pay, so they understood that they was like indentured servants and slaves was property. So they understood the difference. So this right here was like one of the things that has been ingrained in our society now. So you got the oligarchy where you got like the top white people that make a lot of money, and then you got the poor white people that in their minds believe they're still above everybody else. That's how America was built, right? Like from the beginning. And what happened was Great Britain wasn't really rocking with slavery like that. They wanted to kind of control it the way that they wanted to control it. And the 13 colonies that was here was like, no, they was literally responsible for 70% of the world's wealth, right? With tobacco products, with cotton products, they was distributing to 70% of the world, and they was getting it off of free labor of black people, right? Um, so what ended up happening was the Civil War, or not the Civil War, but the war between Great Britain and the war between the United States. Like black people was leaving, escaping slavery, and they was going to Great Britain, and they was like fighting to come over here and take black people to Great Britain, and it became too much. So the United States had to find a way to become the United States. Like the colonies had to find a way to become the United States and separate from Great Britain, and that's how you got the Constitution, right? That's how you got the United States. It came as a result of how much free labor we was doing as black people and how much money we made these white men. And I bring this up to say, here in America, as a black man, unfortunately, you will be looked as less than, because not because people are bad, innately bad, but because it's ingrained in the society already. It was from the beginning. We was already told we are nothing. We're less than, and it's not something that's just instilled into our community. It's instilled in every single community about us, because that's how it's always been from the beginning. Like from the beginning, it was black people are the lowest of the low, and black men are the lowest of the lowest low, because they were the most powerful. So they had to make it seem in our minds that we ain't shit to everybody. And when I say everybody at the lowest level, I mean to Asians, to Mexicans, to Africans, like actual Africans, to Latino people, to whoever. Like whoever can watch TV and look on the TV, it looks as if the black man is like below everybody, right? He ain't shit. Basketball player, athlete, rapper, we're put here to entertain, and that's all, right? So this is from the beginning, okay? So I bring all of this up to say, what I wanted to talk about was the government and the police today. Like that's the whole point of this talk. So you understand, fundamentally, the United States government has never rocked with us. Like they made the country with the intentions of black people to never get ahead, like never. So every single thing that has gone from the beginning on out, it is intended for to be against you. And you need to understand that, like, as you're moving, right? Because it's not that it's impossible for you to make something of yourself here. It's not that you can't, like, that you can't be very successful here. You can, but you got to understand that the rules are a little bit different for every other person on the planet. The rules for a black man in particular are different than the rules for every other person, sex or race or whatever on this planet. You're always going to have to work harder, right? Even if you're great at what you do, you got to be better than great, and that's going to be that's a hard lesson and a hard pill to swallow, but it's one of the most important lessons that you got to understand. Okay, do not trust the government ever. Just don't, bro. Right? Understand the government, know the government, right? Understand it, study it, learn it, know it, right? But if when it comes to black men in general, they have no intentions of helping us succeed or progress in the future. Like, when I tell you everything derives from slavery, policemen, those guys that you see where you're like, man, you're gonna see in your books when you're in high school, you're gonna see them, and they're gonna build them to be heroes. When they put it on TV and stuff like that, they're gonna build them, they're gonna paint them up as if they're like the good people, the great people, right? If slavery was a bad thing, and we know slavery was a bad thing, right? The police derived it was birth. So remember, I was talking to you about the root, the branches, and the root, the tree, and then the branches. Here's another analogy again. The root of police would be slave catchers. That's where they derive from. They were slave catchers that made the police department. So historically, they're not good for us. You understand? People ask a question like, well, why are cops shooting black dudes down the street? They're not here for us. In fact, I once seen a movie that it was a rich lady that said, the police are only here to protect the poor from the rich. Never trust the police, bro. Unless you are about to die, do you hear me? You can call the police for being robbed and they will show up and damn near arrest you because you're black. And that's hyperbole. That's not hyperbole, but that's definitely an exaggeration. But the point that I'm trying to make is the police are not here for us. They're not here for you. They're not here for us. They're not here for us. The government is not here for us. And if you can understand that, if you can live in a world where you understand that, you will learn how to navigate in the world where you understand that, right? So what I mean by that is if you know that the police are not here for you and your success, stay away from them. You know how you stay away from them? By doing the right things in life. That's how you stay away from the police. You stay away from the police by keeping yourself out of trouble. You stay away from the police by thinking before you do things. And again, these are all lessons, sons, that I'm telling you that I've experienced in my life that I know that you're going to have to learn one day. That's how you avoid police. Do the right things in life, right? How you avoid the government, going back to the analogy, that's the branches. So how you avoid the government is stay away from the police. You won't get in trouble with the police. You won't get in trouble with the government. You'll live a okay life, man. You'll be straight. These are things that I wish I would have known a long time ago, but I definitely know now. All right. It is important for you to understand government again and its relationship with black culture and black men in general, to understand the state of black men and to understand the reason why I'm telling you these things, so you can avoid those states, those things that other black men are doing, so you can do differently. Okay. Um, it starts off with the people that run the government, right? That's what it starts off with. So know thy enemy, son. Like, learn the government, study it. Shit, if you can become a lawyer, become a lawyer. Like, learn that stuff, bro. Learn how to navigate in this stuff because it's going to be crucial to your success in the future. In America, it only take one mistake. It only take one mistake to ruin your entire life. Nobody told me that, but it literally will take you one mistake to ruin your entire life, right? So again, when I say learn the government, learn the police, learn the different bureaucracies, learn the different branches of the government, learn all of that stuff so you can understand how to navigate in a society that's pretty much dominated by white men, which dominate the government, which dominate you, control you. So you got to learn how to navigate. Okay. The last thing that I want to talk to you about in the navigation of the government. Okay. In order for you to understand the government, you also have to learn history, which is the reason why it's a full circle, which is the reason why we're having these conversations right now. Because in order for you to understand the government and how they are at the time, you got to understand the time too. So make history your most important subject, son. If somebody could have told me this, oh my God, make history the most important thing to you. Learn your real history. Study African history because we came here from Africa. Our lineage came from Africa, right? And it's whole deep stories too because we was already here for real. But that's a whole nother conversation. But learn the African history so you can see what's in these genes, like what's in these in your blood, what affects you because you come from that. So you have to learn history too. So then you can understand the government. So then you can understand how it affects our culture. So you can understand the relationships like that I have with you, that I have with your mom, the relationships that you'll have with people, how media will portray us, all of that stuff. It's essential to you and how you develop. So you got to learn history, you got to learn government, you got to learn the rules and the policies and how they fit around you so you can decide what type of man you want to be and how you want to move. And that's the key to everything. History, government, and then you. All right? Till next time, sons. Peace.